Welcome to the Waterplay Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hewitt. Lucas cannot be here for this week's episode as Lucas is very busy, so I will be going solo once again. We said this as the episode aired on Rumble and on YouTube. Did not air on Spotify. We're trying to fix the issue with Spotify, as the last couple episodes have not aired, so we'll make sure we'll make sure you can get that as soon as possible. But we said this about the Bears playing the Lions. If the Bears did not improve in some way and got demolished by the Lions, Eberflus would be gone. They didn't get demolished, but Eberflus is gone. Let me explain. So in the first half, the score is 16-0. And in the third quarter, the Bears start getting something going. They score a touchdown. But then they end up giving up a touchdown, so it's 23-7. And then some things just started to happen for the Bears. Got another touchdown, a couple field goals, making it 23-20. And then weird things started to happen. Like, mostly the reason the Bears got back in the game was the Lions just started running out of defenders. There was just no one. They're basically putting in guys who've never played with this team or played professional football in the States because they're just so banged up. So you could see the cracks in this defense. But still a good nucleus, I guess, of this team. The Bears get the ball back. They have to travel like over 90 yards to score a touchdown, but they only need a field goal to bring this to overtime. They get the ball to the 25-yard line, 25-yard line of the Lions, and they have about 30 seconds to do something. Actually, hang on, I got the number here. 34 seconds. And in that time, they only ran one play. How does that happen? Well, they burn a timeout when the clock's not running because Caleb didn't understand what was going on. So they burn the timeout. They have one remaining. That'll be very important. They run this play. It doesn't work, but it gets the clock moving. Because what happened was they got sacked. And now the clock is moving. Clock's moving. And I think they have enough time. Few things happen. No urgency from the players. The inability to get in the call-in and not using the timeout caused the Bears to lose the game. Because they had 10 seconds. They only snapped the ball at 7. And they threw a ball deep down the field for no reason. And they lost the game. If they snap that ball at 15 seconds and throw that route, there's 8 seconds to throw out. You put Cairo Santos out there, you have a chance to win the game. Or tie the game. And go to overtime. Instead, they didn't do that. And they didn't burn the timeout. So they lose the game 23-20. And up to this point, 105 seasons the Bears have been a franchise. 105. They've been a franchise since the beginning, since 1919, and they have never fired a coach in season. They're very proud of that. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Until that Friday. I get a notification. Eberflus is at a press conference. He's doing the press conference, and he's expected to be there. He's expecting himself to be coaching against San Francisco. Then about 2 hours later, I get another notification saying the Bears have fired Matt Eberflus. Apparently, during the press conference that he was having on Friday morning, the general manager, the owners, the McCaskey family, the team president, and he used to be the commissioner of the Big 10 or the Big 12 or whatever. One of those conferences. He's now there, and they were all meeting and wondering what's the future of the Bears. And they said, Eberflus will not be a part of this. And Eberflus was fired. I do want to also make this, I didn't say this on NFL World or anything like that. Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears, is staying. That was announced. He is staying. And I think he's done a good job. Here's the thing. You look at Eberflus's record, there is constant mistakes. There's constant reaction. Plus, here's what happens. You fire... This is how much chaos was going in Matt Eberflus's orbit the last year and a half. Last year, they fired the defensive coordinator because of allegations of misconduct to the point that the FBI raided the defensive coordinator's home. So obviously some misconduct. So they bring in a new defensive coordinator. Oh wait, no, they were not. They're gonna have Matt Eberflus coach defense. Okay, fine. He's a defensive coordinator. Fine. They let go of their offensive coordinator last year. They bring in Shane Waldron, who was the offensive coordinator in Seattle. And Seattle's like, don't take him. He's not good. And they fire Shane Waldron because he's going to get Caleb Williams in that offense killed. So now they have Thomas Brown, who was I don't exactly know what his title was. Quarterback coach, passing game coordinator. I think it was passing game coordinator. So he becomes the offensive coordinator. The offense looks better. But then they basically put lipstick on a pig at this point. There was no, as the old saying would go, basically they just said, we're going to try to dress this up as possible and I hope no one notices. And they kept doing it. They started this last year. It finally finished this year. Eberflus gone. Thomas Brown promoted for the second time in about 17, 19 days, 20 days, something like that. And who knows, maybe something comes out of this season for the Bears, but it was bad. The defense was solid, but they lost their enthusiasm after the Commanders lost. They had the blocked field goal that lost them the game against Green Bay. They are down 11 against the Vikings, come back, get that game to overtime, and the offense stalls out. Then they go and play this game against the Lions, and for the first half don't show up on offense. Then in the second half, show up enough on offense, but then you have the biggest blunder. And you can blame, well, it's Caleb Williams' fault because he's the quarterback. He's a rookie. He's not going to know the situation. It's on your coach to know your situation. He didn't. That's the problem. That is the massive, massive problem with this team. It needs to be fixed. You can't blame Caleb Williams for everything. He was making things happen. The funniest thing I say is, like, when people who play Madden know the situation better than you, that if they can't get the ball, if they just call the timeout. Eberflus did not get that message somehow. I don't know. You can defend Eberflus all you want, but he was not a good coach. he didn't know what he was doing, and then he defended not calling the timeout in the press conference later. But here was something we didn't know until Sunday. Jay Glazer sat up there on Thursday and said, it's still going to be Eberflus, still going to be. Sunday, he said what happened was Eberflus met with the team after the loss, didn't really take any responsibility, surprising, and said, we need to fight through this adversity. And Jalen Johnson, who's their best player, best player, stood up and for 10 to 15 minutes talked about how bad it's been for Eberflus. Saying you're not in position to say that we didn't do everything we could do to win. We need to use this adversity to win. You're not in the position to do that. You shouldn't have been retained last year. You were. You couldn't do anything on offense. Again, the second time we said this, Coach Fox was there when they drafted Mitch Trubisky. They got rid of Mitch Trubisky, but when Mitch Trubisky, the year he was drafted, Coach Fox was let go. They bring in Matt Nagy. They let go of Trubisky. They draft Justin Fields. Later that year, Matt Nagy gets fired. They bring in Matt Eberflus. A couple years with Justin Fields, they let go of Justin Fields. They bring in Caleb Williams. Now, at the end of the year, or almost end of the year, Eberflus is fired. This cycle continues of they go a year, they draft the quarterback, and in the year, that next offseason, they fire the coach. Or in the case, this season, they fired the coach. It's what they did. It's not that hard to understand. Let's move on to another coach, specifically a guy trying to get back into coaching, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick, this was a shocker, I saw this, and it's Bill Belichick to the University of North Carolina. So when I read this, I gotta be honest, I thought they meant Carolina Panthers. So I was like, what? Dave Canales has done a decent job, and Bryce Young looks good. Why are we firing Dave Canales? So I had to read it again, and I said, oh, the University of North Carolina, gotcha. Now, everyone's saying, this means he has I'll read the notification right here. If I can find it, hang on. I'll read the notification. I have the notification right here. Bill Belichick to UNC is not crazy. In the NIL and transfer portal, Bill Belichick could make the Tar Heels an instant contender. They also went on and said that Belichick. Here's what I'm reading. I'll read this right off the phone here. It says Belichick's interest in the UNC job shows he still wants to coach. That's the headline. Now, if you've been on this show for any period of time, and I thank you for being here, we've said this before. Belichick wants to coach. He wants to coach. But the thing is, what's Belichick want in control? Does he just want to coach? Does he want to be the GM? Does he want to have more of a fluid situation of what he's capable of doing? Does he want to work more closely with the GM but not be the GM? What does he want? That's really what the question is for Bill Belichick. And I saw this, and I want to answer this the best way. Because I've been saying this, and I don't think I said it here, but I'll say it here. I think Belichick will do the Bruce Arians. When Bruce Arians went to Tampa, he was there for like 3 or 4 years. It was fine. And then he decided, I'm going to retire. Todd Bowles going to take over as head coach, and that's it. It's what they did. I wonder if Belichick takes any head coaching job, college, pros, high school, whatever. If he takes a job, if he's just going to coach for a couple of years and then say, okay, McDaniels, Dable, Braves, Vrabel, whatever, now you're the head coach. I wonder if they do that. I wouldn't be shocked. It gives his disciple, in a way, a chance. But I wouldn't be shocked by that either. I think that all needs to be said. Hang on, come on. Sip water. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, God, my ads on my phone are going crazy. So, we want to extend our sympathies, I think. Yes, we want to extend our sympathies to Randy Moss, as Randy, who's been on the Sunday countdown for Sunday's games, he's stepping away after battling health issues, which it started a few weeks ago. So, a few weeks ago, we noticed, if you watch the show, his eyes. As in, his eyes were yellow. So, this is a condition. This does happen. So, obviously, not the pupils itself, but the around the eye. So the eyeball itself is yellow. And it led to, this past week, Randy Moss wearing sunglasses. And people made a big thing about it. Randy Moss said via his Instagram, "Throughout the week of the holidays, your boy has been battling something internal. And I just want to ask for all the prayer warriors to put their blessings hands on me and my family throughout these hard times. I'm battling something. Man, it's something internal. Your boy's going to get through it. I got a great team of doctors. I got a great family around me. All you man, y'all do your checkups and get your blood work done. And we'll work through it. Alright? Thank you for the prayers." Moss, 47, echoed his remarks on Sunday NFL Countdown, sporting a pair of sunglasses. As we said before, this comes after fans of the show speculated the condition was something to do with his eyes, as it had like a kind of a yellowish tint to it. Moss did not reveal the specific issue, so we just want to have our prayers go to Randy during this very difficult time for Randy Moss and his family. Personally, I like how Randy describes the game. I think he's obviously very intelligent, but he understands how to, and like you say this, I took a class once in announcing, and it's more like it was an overview class kind of thing. or an overview of a class kind of thing. And it was in podcasting, it was and in radio and in all kinds of things. And it was saying you don't want to make your audience feel, what's the word exactly? Unintelligent. You don't want to make them feel unintelligent. You want a healthy mix of, this is your first time watching, to you're an avid watcher. You watch all the time. And Randy does a good job in that. So we just hope that Randy's okay and he can return to good health and return back into a football analyst role. We really hope for that. Moving on into more lighter news. So we're going to talk about this. It's not lighter news exactly, because these two things allude into each other. So, as many of you are aware, Azeez Al-Shaair was suspended for 3 games for the hit he put on Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people have come in defense of Azeez Al-Shaair, and a lot of people have gone and been on the offense and been attacking Azeez Al-Shaair. To explain what was happening, it's a run from Trevor Lawrence. He's going to roll outside the pocket, and he's going to run for a first down. He does slide and moderately late, moderately late. But Azeez Al-Shaair is in front of him. He's not on the side of him. He's not behind him. He's in front of him. And he jumps forward, and he forearm shivers Trevor Lawrence. Now, whether or not we say Trevor got concussed because of the forearm, because of the shoulder, or because of the ground, does not change the point. The quarterback is sliding. He's giving himself up. You are jumping and hitting him as he's giving himself up. And it resulted in Lawrence being knocked out and then ended up a day or two later being officially done for you. Not for the same injury, for a different issue, but it all happened. And Azeez Al-Shaair was suspended. Now, this is not the first case of Azeez Al-Shaair. This is, I think, the 3rd or 4th case in this year, where he hit Caleb Williams late on a Sunday night. He hit a Colts player who was out of bounds by like 5 yards. And then he had this hit. The NFL made an example. Whether you agree with it or not, they made an example. And suspended him 3 games without pay. Though, since the Texans are on bye week, the suspension only starts next week. That does mean he misses the game against KC. I know. But it is what it is. You did this. He went to the board, where you have an independent judge, to try change the suspension, but wasn't changed. It was upheld. And so he's going to serve his suspension. We said on the NFL World YouTube channel and on Rumble at the time that DeMeco Ryans took the side of Azeez Al-Shaair, saying that the Jaguars' reaction was an overreaction, which wasn't. It was not at all. It was a proper reaction. If my job as an offensive lineman and my job as a teammate is to protect that guy who makes a lot of money because he's our quarterback. Like, that's the guy we gotta protect. That's who we protect. So, of course, that was not an overreaction. It didn't help that Azeez was trying, we talked about the gimmick where he hit Caleb Williams. That led to a little bit of fight where Al-Shaair ended up taking a swing at somebody. I don't know about the Colts game, how that was handled, but I do know that in this one, they were like trying to pull him apart, and how he ended up then like talking trash to the Jaguars and talking trash to the Jaguar fans. It was a dirty hit. It was, let's be honest. A lot of people have defended it. Tom Brady actually defended Azeez Al-Shaair, saying, yes, it's a hit, but it's a physical sport. Those guys are going 100 miles an hour. I mean, I get it. I get it, but gotta protect yourself. The late slides, though, I think it also needs to be talked about. Quarterbacks sliding late, where the guy is 2 inches away from them and then they're sliding. Quarterback sliding. You're gonna take a guy out because you want to get the extra yard. I don't think that's what Trevor was trying to do, but it just needs to be talked about. And Micah Parsons, and I even was wondering about this. Micah Parsons wants clarity on what's the slide rule. How we describe this, the quarterback slide rules. Because if I can't hit him, what's the slide rule that we have? I don't know. And the answer is, again, I think the NFL's going to have to try and go through this in the best way they can. They're going to have to go and say, NFL, we got to change this rule. Where if quarterbacks slide late because they're trying to get an extra yard or they're trying to get to 15, and these defenders, they do pull off, but they don't know if they should pull off. Because you're seeing a lot of this, quarterbacks are not getting hit as much when they're running. Because defenders are like, if I hit him, what happens? Because he may slide if I try to get close to him. So I'm just going to stand here. We saw that a couple times. Because these quarterbacks will slide very late, try to get to 15 yards, and that's it. And get mad when they don't. The NFL should go and say, okay, we are going to fine quarterbacks if they slide late. They're trying to turn the ball upfield, and if they're not designated as sliding, they're not showing that they're going to slide in some way, we're fining. Or something. There has to be more clarity than what there is. Okay, moving on into, let me see if I can find it. I want to make sure I have everything. Okay. Yeah, let's do the games, and then we'll finish up with that news when we get to that game. So, let's recap what happened in the Lions-Packers game. This was a wild performance. Game ended 34-31. At one point, the Lions were up by 10. Then Packers get a field goal and then an interception. Or actually, they get a touchdown and an interception that they end up scoring a touchdown later on. And then go back and forth. There's a back and forth between the Lions and Packers. I want to say this right now, okay? Can someone tell Dan Campbell he doesn't have to go for it on 4th down 90% of the time? This guy goes for it. He went for it on 4th down on their 30. On their 30-yard line. Dan, I understand if you have one loss. You have one loss. Why are you doing this? You have one win. If you're 1-10, I get it. You're 1-10. You're trying something. You have one loss. Why are you doing this? You have a chance to get the number 1 seed. Why are you doing that? They didn't get it. Packers go down and score. Then they have the interception that later on they scored. Tim Patrick had 2 touchdowns after not having any touchdowns on the season. Lions end up getting the win. But here's what happened. 4th and 1. 4th and inch or something like that. Hang on, I'll finish that in a second. Hang on. So it's 4th and 1. Lions would smartly take a field goal in this situation, giving the Packers about 30 seconds to go down the field and get a field goal on their own side and bring this to overtime. Instead, the Lions decided to go for it in plus territory on the 40-yard line. So they could lose the game by this. They get it. They burn the rest of the clock. They kick the field goal, game winning. They get the 10 wins. They get the 12 wins, my bad. They get the 12 wins. And clinch a playoff game. But my God. Someone tell Dan Campbell, don't go for it every single time. I don't disagree with them going for it necessarily to go and have a chance to completely win the game. Not every time. Please don't do it every time. You can give Detroit Lions fans cardiac arrest by doing it. Now, we're going to kind of skip around a little bit because this notification just came out. The NFL has closed the Watson investigation. That's the headline. League won't fine or suspend Watson for most recent allegations, citing insufficient evidence. So, Deshaun, you're lucky. You're very lucky. Here's why. This is another incident that happened. I don't know when this incident happened, but someone else talked. You are very lucky that you did not get fined, suspended, blackballed, whatever. You were very lucky. Because this was like, what was it, like 24 now? It was like 24 allegation. It's absurd. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. At some point, something's got to happen. Not this one was close to insufficient evidence, but still. Come on, Deshaun. Like, stop. This doesn't work. So stop doing it. Okay, moving back to the games. Carolina at Philadelphia. Philadelphia favored by 13.5. I have Philadelphia winning, but I don't think it's going to be by 13. I don't even think it's going to be more than that. I think it's going to be less. I think Carolina is showing some things. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Vic Fangio does. But I'm going to think Carolina covers. Philadelphia wins, but it's a close game. 28-21. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders on the road to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are favored by 6.5. So the Bucs are 6-6. They're trying to fight out for the last wild card spot that Washington holds at 8-5. Washington's on bye. The teams that are kind of holding their breath for this game are Tampa, Arizona, Rams, San Francisco, Dallas, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, Atlanta. Atlanta is fighting for the Division 2. So, with Atlanta also facing Minnesota, that all needs to be said. Okay. 6.5 points. Mike Evans is back. Aiden O'Connell, I thought, played fairly well. But give me the Bucks to win. Scores, it's a close game, 28-24. Next up, Bills at Rams. Rams favorite, or actually Rams getting plus 3.5. Give me the Bills. They find a way to win this game in Los Angeles. 31-20. Because the Rams are an odd team. They're very odd. Excuse me. They're very odd as in they don't move the ball well. They can put up points, but they're not suited particularly well. I don't know how to really describe it. And I just don't think they're good enough to beat Buffalo with the tear that Josh Allen's on. So give me the Bills to win 31-20. Next up, Bears at Niners. -4 for the Niners. It's a 4-8 team and a 5-7 team. Don't be surprised the Bears play inspired with their new head coach. I'm going to say the Bears win. They shock San Francisco, and it looks like there's more questions than answers in San Francisco. Bears win this 30. No, not 30. 24-21. 24-21. Let's do that. Next up, Sunday Night Football. Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 4. Over-under is 43. Why did I say the over-under? Because for whatever reason, the Chiefs can't get to the over-under. It makes no sense. Every week, it's like a new thing with the Chiefs. You can't explain it. It just is. They played the Raiders on Friday. And that Raiders team can't run the ball, have had backups. The 2 starting running backs were out. Their backup, the starting quarterback got hurt. The backup quarterback got hurt. The starting comes back from a broken thumb. And somehow the Raiders nearly won that game. Just some interesting gymnastics from the referees. And I'll lead to it. I'll describe it very quickly here. Raiders have a chance to win the game. They've missed like 3 kicks this whole game. 3 field goals. Long field goals, but they've missed. And they go, have a chance to win. Offensive line is getting set, but the wide receivers aren't set. I don't know if the running back is set or not. And it's a quick snap. O'Connell's not ready for the ball. Ball hits him in the chest. Goes on the ground. At this point, the officials have already blown the play dead, expecting to call false start. They've already blown it dead. But a Chiefs player recovers the ball. Instead, Clay Martin's crew decides, instead of calling false start, which would have a 10-second runoff, they decided, let's call an illegal shift. You blew the play dead. How are you going to call an illegal shift? You can't call an illegal shift if you blow the play dead. You just blow the flag, and when the play happens, then call the illegal shift. You don't blow the play dead and then call an illegal shift. It made no sense. It gave the Chiefs the win in shocking fashion, in ridiculous fashion, and that's kind of what happened. The Chargers, on the other hand, they went to Atlanta, were bad on offense, but found a way to win after 4 Kirk Cousins picks, including a pick 6. Now the Chargers get to have a chance to avenge their loss earlier in the season. I think they do. But this game is going to be really strange. Give me the Chargers to win 24-20. And let's see what happens. And then on Monday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys. So, you look at these records, it's very similar to the Bears and Niners records. 4-8, the Bengals are. 5-7, the Cowboys are. I want to say this quickly. You look at the numbers of a Trey Hendrickson, a Joe Burrow, a Ja'Marr Chase, even a T. Higgins who's been injured twice this year, and you say, how on earth are they 4-8? It makes no sense. Joe Burrow, 30 touchdowns, 5 picks, completion percentage of over 75, a QBR of over 75, almost 355, almost 3,500 yards of passing yards. The weakest part of their team might be their offensive line, because Ja'Marr Chase is over 1,000 yards already. We're only heading into week 14 now. T. Higgins, who's been out, is almost at 500 yards. And he has like 5 touchdowns. I think Ja'Marr Chase has anywhere between 8 or 10 touchdowns. Trey Hendrickson leads the team and the league in sacks. Like, how are they 4-8? Well, they can't get pressure besides Trey Hendrickson. They can't. They literally can't. They don't tackle well. Their offensive line's a mess. Like, there's not great performances here by this Bengals team. But Joe Burrow and that offense, they score 28. Their defense gives up more than 20. We've talked about this. When you have teams that they can score so much, they score 30, but they give up 31. You can't win. You can't win those games. It's just not possible. That's what happens with the Bengals. Now, thankfully for the Bengals, the Cowboys don't tackle very well either. They've tackled better, but not well. Dallas is in a position, they're 5-7. They could go crazy and somehow, because of how close this last wildcard spot is, and at the end of this next week, be one of the few teams still alive in fourth. Or completely tank now and try to get a top 10 pick. They can do either. Right now they got pick 13. And I keep looking at it and I'm like, the highest they're going to go is 18. The lowest they're going to go is 10. Maybe 11. So that's how I see it. Cowboys are at home at plus 5.5. It's going to be interesting. Honestly, it's going to be, can the Cowboys stop the Bengals offense? And can the Cowboy offense do anything after scoring 20 points? That's legit what it is. Look at if you go through all the games that Cooper Rush has played this year, what's his highest point total? You could say, oh, okay, the Commanders. They scored 34 in that game. Yes. How much did the offense score? 20. They had 2 kick return touchdowns, which was 14 points. The game against the Giants, they had 27 points. That was the final score, 27-20. The offense scored 20. They had a pick 6. That's kind of how the Cowboys operate. They're going to score 20 on offense and then have hopefully someone else, a pick 6, kick return, this, that, whatever, to get over the hump. That's what they do. Can they do that against Cincinnati? I think it's possible because of how bad Cincinnati plays on defense. They're really bad on defense. They can't get pressure besides Trey Hendrickson. You chip him, you double team him. Yet no one else is really going to win. They don't take the ball away very well. There's a lot of missteps. They don't, like I said, they don't tackle well. Like, they couldn't tackle Najee Harris last week, and they let the Steelers score 40. Not good. Not good at all. So, I'm going to say this. Cowboys upset the Bengals and get their second home win. But it's going to be one of those strange games that no one wants to talk about. The score being 27-24 Cowboys. I also want to say this before we go. This game will be without Zach Martin. Zach Martin, it was announced by the Cowboys, specifically Mike McCarthy, that Zach Martin's going to have ankle surgery, which would end his season and potentially his career. Not because the injury is that severe, not because the surgery is that dangerous, but because Zach has contemplated retirement last year, didn't, and hasn't played well because of the injuries. Both ankles, back, shoulder, knee, everything. He's banged up. And he's a warrior. And I feel like, I want to say this mostly, Cowboys fans feel this way because they felt the same way when Tyron Smith left. He's a great player, future Hall of Fame player. But because the team wasn't good enough, the coaching wasn't good enough, the front office doesn't get out of their own way, you wasted a career on a great future Hall of Fame talent. And that's what everyone kind of feels that way for. That Zach Martin should have won a Super Bowl, but never got the opportunity to. So if this is the end for Zach Martin, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the memories. And the NFL wants to say thank you as well, as they have, and the Cowboys have, nominated Zach Martin for Walter Payton Man of the Year. And if he gets it, I wish him all the best in his retirement. And if he doesn't want to retire and wants to go one more time, let's give him one more ride. For NFL World and for the What to Play podcast, I'm Jacob Ebert. We'll see you next week.